Welcome to Season 2, Episode 33. Our topic today is trauma-informed is not good enough. More than 20 years ago, Martin Seligman stood on a stage and told a story about a phone call that he had with CNN. Now, Martin was the president of the American Psychological Association at that time, and CNN wanted to interview him about the state of psychology in America. But it's CNN, and he only got a soundbite. And you might ask, what's a soundbite? One word. So the cameras rolled and they asked him, what is the state of psychology today? And he said, good. Cut. That's not the answer they were looking for. So they talked to him. He asked for more. They gave him 2 words. So cameras rolling. What's the state of psychology today? Not good. Cut. They didn't like that answer either. So they gave him 3 words. What is the state of psychology today? Not good enough. And then he told the audience he believed that, and he also believed that in about 10 years, psychology would get there. It's been almost twice that long now. So picture just for a moment yourself walking into a therapy room, looking for help with something that's been running your life. Maybe your shoulders are drooping. The clinician's voice is warm and slow, and you hear the words you're hoping for. This is a safe space. I'm trauma-informed. And you see it on the wall on a certificate behind them, trauma-informed. And right next to the diploma, it looks like a qualification. It reads almost like a promise. And you assume this person can heal what you came for because they are trauma-informed. Now here's the question almost nobody asked in that room. When you walk back out, will the trauma be any smaller than when you walked in? Because feeling safe is not the same as being healed. Trauma-informed is not a special ability. It's like the base training. If you are in the therapy space, if you have a master's degree in psychotherapy, everything that's in that trauma-informed curriculum should be part of your training. Holding a safe space, building rapport, reading the person in front of you, calming a nervous system out of fight or flight. That is what anyone working in the trauma field should already be doing. They don't need a special certificate on their wall. Certainly not announcing it as your credential is like walking into a dojo and the sensei introduces himself as being self-defense informed. Or booking a dentist whose opening line is, I'm oral health informed. You'd run out. Or you'd blink and say, of course you're oral health informed. You're a dentist. So that's the job. It's not a distinction. And here's the part that stop you cold. There is no study showing that trauma-informed clinicians actually heal more. In 2025, a major review looked at the trauma-informed care and found the evidence insufficient to show that it improves any patient outcomes. They didn't show a weak effect. There was no proven effect at all. So I went and I read how these clinicians describe themselves to the public. I reviewed about 90 trauma therapist listings on Psychology Today across 3 cities. And here's some fun facts. 1 in 4 led with, I am trauma-informed. And yet none of the 90 advertised any measurable, demonstrable result. 0. None of them talked about the potential success rate. None of them talked about trauma healing. None of them had a trauma healing score. No number of any kind. And that points to something much bigger. Almost nobody in this field measures whether people actually get better. Fewer than 1 in 5 clinicians use real before and after assessments. Look, if you break your arm, nobody asks the arm how it feels. You'll have it x-rayed, they'll set it appropriately based on the x-ray, and then when they think you've healed, they x-ray it again to prove it. In trauma, there's usually no first x-ray, and maybe conversational only, certainly no psychometric assessment, and there's certainly no last one. Just a conversations and potentially years going by. There is another way to work, and it starts by refusing to move the goalpost, the safe room, the calm nervous system. All of that has to be assumed You can't put yourself out as a trauma clinician and not be able to do that. You must be able to do it. In our last article, that was step one. We talked about being in rapport. And it's not an achievement. It should be assumed. The work happens deeper at the layer where the memory is actually stored. And to do that, you have to hold safe space. You have to know the visual cues. You have to know the auditory cues. And to do that, in my world, we use a thing where we focus on the affective memory, the event that holds the negative latent charge that allows people to be triggered and have intrusive thoughts and replay the memory in this moment. And we call that affective memory resolution. When we do affective memory resolution, the statistics on that say it has over a 90% efficacy. And because that's a claim about a result, we measure it. In our world, we do a psychometric assessment before, and we gather evidence and do another psychometric assessment after. And we share those numbers with the client. We also do an amended form of Zimbardo, another president of the American Psychological Association's ZTPI, or for my American friends, ZTPI. In an independent pilot with survivors of human trafficking, people averaged an 86% drop in their PTSD symptoms, and 10 out of the 11 participants fell below the clinical diagnostic threshold. Now, you can argue with a number like that. You cannot argue with a posture because a posture never made a claim you could test. So if you're carrying something that talk and time just haven't touched, hear me. So if you're still triggered, if you still feel out of control, you don't need to find another trauma-informed clinician. You need to find a clinician who believes trauma is an injury that can heal. And you deserve to have yourself assessed pre and post. I hope that makes sense for you. So if that's you and you feel out of control and tired of being in the rat race, please, please, please book a free consult with me. I can point you in the right direction. Or if you're a clinician who's tired of working in the dark, who knows your clients go home week after week, month after month, potentially year after year, contact me. I can help you learn techniques that will allow you to have the confidence to assess your clients pre and post and to start focusing on the efficacy you achieve with your clients. Now, Dr. Seligman gave that psychology 10 years to become good enough. He said that in 2014, I believe. And today, 1 in 4 trauma therapists lead with trauma-informed, and none of them will tell you whether it works. So if I'm in their company and I was traumatized, I would just say no. I'd say we're not good enough, not yet. But I believe, and the emerging evidence proves it, that trauma is an injury that can heal. And it can heal without telling your story in a non-re-traumatizing way briefly. If that interests you, if you're suffering or you're a clinician, if those two interest you, there are 2 links. Pick the one that's appropriate for you. Someone who has trauma or somebody who wants to learn more as a clinician.